Developing now, Virginia Beach police arrest one of their own. Sergeant Shawn Hoffman is accused of pushing his wife down a flight of stairs.
The Internal Affairs supervisor faces assault and battery charges. Those are just some of the new details 13 News Now reporter Jacqueline Lee uncovered today.
Now, Jacqueline, you tell us, what is his status right now with the department?
Well, Ernie, he was reassigned from Internal Affairs, and he was reassigned to a different administrative post. Now, the police department would not specify which post that was, pending their internal investigation.
It's an incident that led to a police sergeant in handcuffs and a police department investigating one of its own. Recently obtained court documents reveal what allegedly went down on Smokehouse Road late Saturday night into early Sunday morning. According to an incident report written by Hoffman's stepdaughter, she came home and found her mom sitting on the floor, her mom's elbow bleeding. The dog gate that's usually on the stairs lay broken in half on the floor. She asked what happened. Her mom shook her head. Hoffman said loudly, "I didn't push her." Her mom responded, "Yes, he did." Police charged 57-year-old Hoffman with assault on a family member. The arrest report saying Hoffman allegedly pushed his wife down the stairs. Hoffman has worked with the Virginia Beach Police Department for 35 years and is one of 6 assigned to Internal Affairs. Court documents say officers reported Hoffman's wife had injuries on her elbow and knee, consistent with falling. According to a stepdaughter, Hoffman was crying intensely, repeatedly denying he pushed his wife down the stairs and said, quote, "I'd end my career." Then she says he went into his closet upstairs, heard him load a gun, then a click. He stepped out of his room sobbing, saying he didn't push her mother. That's when the stepdaughter called police.
Hoffman was released on a $5,000 bond. If convicted, he faces a maximum of a year behind bars and a $2,500 fine. Live in studio, Jacqueline Lee, 13 News Now.